For years, air quality in India has been discussed as a seasonal concern, a topic that rises in certain months and fades in others. But air does not follow a calendar. The systems that shape air quality, transport, construction, industry, energy, operate every day of the year. In December 2025, the Supreme Court of India clarified this distinction. The bench observed that air pollution cannot be treated as a seasonal issue, and that long-term, coordinated solutions are essential. India's approach is evolving, from shorter measures to permanent systems embedded in infrastructure, policy, and technology. Annual data shows that the largest contributors to urban air pollution operate throughout the year. Transport, industry, power generation, and construction together account for the majority of emissions in Indian cities. In many urban regions, transport alone contributes over 40% of emissions. Industry and power add nearly another fifth. Dust from construction and roads adds to this baseline. These are continuous activities, not seasonal events. This understanding changes the nature of solutions. When the sources are constant, the response must be constant as well. One focus area highlighted during court proceedings was logistics. Idling vehicles at congestion points contribute significantly to emissions. Barrierless, satellite-based tolling removes these choke points. Vehicles move without stopping, reducing fuel use and emissions. The court also clarified the importance of targeting older, high-emission vehicles while supporting cleaner technologies already in use. In construction, the shift is from blanket stoppages to site-specific controls, managing dust while keeping essential activity moving. A key enabler of year-round action is precision data. Thousands of low-cost, high-accuracy sensors now track air quality at street level. This allows authorities to identify specific sources, locations, and time patterns, enabling focused interventions. For industry and power, the transition is structural. Initiatives like the National Green Hydrogen Mission aim to reduce emissions from heavy sectors over time. The approach also recognizes livelihoods. Compensation mechanisms ensure that environmental measures and worker welfare move together. Air does not stop at city or state boundaries. Scientific modeling now treats regions as shared airsheds. This requires coordination across districts and states, aligning standards, enforcement, and monitoring. This is how a seasonal challenge becomes a managed system. India's approach to clean air is evolving, from reaction to design, from temporary measures to permanent infrastructure. The Supreme Court's observation was not a critique. It was direction, reinforcing the need for continuity, coordination, and capability. Clean air is not a seasonal outcome. It is a built-in feature of a modern nation. For many years, air quality in India has been discussed in seasonal terms. Attention tends to increase during specific months, when visibility drops and air quality becomes more noticeable. During other periods, the conversation often softens. This pattern shaped how the issue was understood. Pollution appeared to arrive, intensify, and then recede. As a result, responses often followed the same cycle: heightened focus for a period of time, followed by relative quiet. But air quality is not driven by seasons alone. It is shaped by systems that operate continuously: transport networks, construction activity, industrial production, and energy use. These systems function every day, across all months. They represent the foundational economic activity of our nation, and their emissions output remains a constant factor regardless of the weather. As air quality monitoring expanded and long-term datasets became available, this continuous nature became clearer. Annual data began to show how emissions accumulate over time, rather than appearing suddenly in one season. We now understand that the background load, the pollutants present on any given day, is the primary driver of long-term health outcomes. Transport contributes consistently through daily commuting and logistics movement. These patterns remain largely unchanged throughout the year. The movement of goods and services is the pulse of our economy, and it beats at a steady rate through all 12 months. Industry and power generation reflect year-round energy demand. Their contribution is linked to economic activity rather than seasonal variation. Whether it is a clear spring day or a cold winter night, our industrial engine continues to power the country's growth. Construction and road dust form another continuous baseline. These activities support urban growth and infrastructure development, and their impact depends on how consistently they are managed at the site level. It is about the standards we maintain every day, not just Duri. Together, this data reframes the challenge. When sources are continuous, solutions must also operate continuously. We are shifting from episodic intervention to permanent system design. Ng periods of high visibility. In December 2025, this understanding was reflected in observations made by the Supreme Court of India. The bench noted that air pollution cannot be addressed as a seasonal issue. This marks a significant shift in the legal and policy framework of the country, moving away from emergency-only thinking. The emphasis was on consistency and coordination. The court highlighted the need for approaches that function throughout the year, rather than responses activated only during high pollution periods. This framing aligns with how other complex national challenges are managed through standards, infrastructure, and governance that operate quietly and continuously in the background. India's approach is now evolving from short-term measures to permanent systems embedded in infrastructure, policy, and technology. The goal is to build a continuous standard that protects citizens every day. One area where system design plays a critical role is logistics. Congestion points lead to idling, which increases fuel consumption and emissions without adding mobility. Every time a heavy vehicle stops and restarts, it creates a concentrated burst of pollutants. Barrierless, satellite-based tolling addresses this structurally. By allowing uninterrupted movement, emissions are reduced at source without relying on enforcement alone. It is a technical solution that removes the very cause of the emission spike. Vehicle standards reflect a similar design approach. Newer emission norms significantly reduce pollutants, enabling cleaner mobility while supporting transport needs. These standards ensure that as our fleet modernizes, the air we breathe becomes cleaner as a matter of course. In construction, the shift is from blanket restrictions to site-specific controls, managing emissions while maintaining continuity in development. We are using technology to suppress dust precisely where it is generated, ensuring that progress does not come at the cost of air quality. Technology enables this shift. Street-level monitoring provides granular insights into air quality across neighborhoods, allowing responses to be precise rather than broad. This allows for localized action that addresses specific hotspots before they become regional problems. This precision changes how decisions are made, shifting action from citywide responses to location-specific interventions. For industry and power, long-term transitions are underway to decarbonize the very core of our production. The National Green Hydrogen Mission supports cleaner production pathways for energy-intensive sectors. By changing the fuel that drives our industry, we are ensuring that the nation's growth is decoupled from its carbon footprint. Environmental action increasingly integrates worker protection, ensuring sustainability and economic continuity move together. We are building an economy where clean air and professional growth are part of the same strategy. Air moves across boundaries. Treating it as a shared airshed enables coordinated planning across districts and states. It acknowledges that the air we breathe is a collective responsibility that requires a unified, year-round approach. India's clean air strategy is being built into systems designed to operate every day, quietly, consistently, and at scale. It is a commitment to a new way of living and building.